grandparents. We are talking about creating a legacy box during spring cleaning. And spring cleaning is such a tradition, and we're going to talk about that a few times this month. But today I brought a helper, and she is one of the grands. She's a great helper on all things with Nani. She loves to spend time with Nani and Papa, but she's also really good at helping with picking up. We're in the process of moving right now, so her and her brothers and her cousin help us move. They're just really getting to be great helpers. Aren't you, Kira?
Yeah.
Say hi.
Hi.
Little camera shy, but she's doing great. We've had her on here before, and we'll have her lots more this summer with the other boys, too. So you'll be meeting more of our grands over the course of this next few months. So what is a legacy box? It is simply a way to capture some of the family memories, family history in the physical items that we save and pass down to the newer generations. And as we think about it, spring cleaning is a great time to sort through and find some of those special items. To start with, a box, you just need a catch-all. And we'll talk about that, what I use, in a few minutes. But long term, you may create something more ornate. You may buy something special like a cedar chest or something to pass on those memories. But in the beginning process, when you're just sorting your items and gathering for particular grandchildren, there's some great ways we can catch those items, think about what is pertinent to each child, and then set it aside for them. Now, as the grandchildren get older, you may want to pass those items on quickly, but if they're younger, you'll probably be saving them for a while. So what I found, and I did this with my own children, particularly with regard to Christmas ornaments, was I just gathered up the wonderful plastic tubs that you can buy at Target or Walmart, any of those places. And I printed out labels, taped them on the inside of the box. I do like the clear boxes. I started with the ones that were opaque, and they just did not work so well because I couldn't see what was in them. But when I switched over to the clear boxes, labeled them with the names, then I could see who was getting what. And as the years went by, I could add to the box. And then ultimately with the Christmas decor, I just passed it on to them as they moved into their own homes later on. Same concept applies for a legacy box for your grands though. Put their name on it, set it up, start with something small. If you end up with bigger items, just buy bigger plastic tubs. Buy heavy duty ones. I did learn the hard way that some of those boxes just don't stand up very well to being moved around and being shuffled. But they're well worth the investment, and particularly if you're keeping items for a few years until they go to the grands. Then make some decisions about whether you're keeping or giving now, and that mostly is age related. Kira's getting old enough, and some of her older siblings are getting old enough now where there are some things we can give them. But the youngest ones, no, we're going to want to keep those items for a while. Then ask questions, what they're interested in. You need to observe that too. Certainly when we're spending time with our grands, we learned a lot about what their interests are and what might suit a particular child. But I had a great conversation earlier today with Kira. And what did I ask you? Do you remember?
Not really.
I asked her if I were to pass away, what it would be that she would want that would remind me of her Nani. And what'd you say?
Earrings.
And why did you say earrings?
Because you wear them a lot.
Mm-hmm. So, and I thought that was a great answer because it was something that she noticed about me that it would remind her of me someday when I'm gone. And as she grows older, I'm sure there'll be other things that come into that category. But ask the children too if there's something in particular that appeals to them. Do you want to tell them the story about your teacher?
Okay.
Speak up.
My teacher told us that when her dad passed away, her and her two younger sisters were gathered, went around, and they each picked stuff. And because we were talking about stuff that was like important kind of to you that other people wouldn't think was special. So like her dad always carried around these toenail clippers, and to someone else that'd be not very special, but to them it was something special.
And so did your teacher and her sisters and brothers decide who got to keep the toenail clippers?
I don't know.
What she brought up there is an important thing. It's not always the expensive items that are part of our legacy. It's the things that create memories or the things that are familiar. And so don't feel like what goes into the memory box has to be, the most expensive item you can leave to a grandchild. Let it be something that really triggers those great memories and those stories and those times that they can look back to and remember how important you were to their life and the influence that you had on their young lives. So then as you're spring cleaning, let's go back to that, because usually we're doing some sort of a sort through the house at different seasons. Spring and fall used to be mine, where I'd sort the clothing and whatnot. But think about the different areas of your house too that you go through and where there might be legacy items. Closets, of course, are great places for finding goodies because we have our clothes, we have our memories, boxes tucked away in closets out of sight. And so look through the items in your closet as you're sorting and think what might be good for a grandchild. I can still remember, the hats that my great-grandmother had, because she lived in that era where all the ladies wore hats. And I can remember some of her little pill box hats and whatnot. And maybe something like that goes in a plastic tub to pass down later. Office papers, one of the most interesting things you can find in a loved one's items that you're going through when they pass away are old deeds or old car titles, things that are just interesting documents, even sometimes old receipts. It's interesting to see the difference in style of receipts from current times back to 100 years ago or 50 years ago even. And just what's a little scary is to see the difference in prices. And especially as we're living in a time of high inflation, and you see receipts for, a steak meal for $10 or something, you're like, oh my goodness, I wish, right? So look in office through papers. Storage facilities, there's always lots of family memorabilia in places like that. Even our kitchens. Think about the recipes and the handwritten recipes especially. If you can preserve those and make copies, maybe only one child can get the original, of course, but we can make great copies now. Copy those and put a recipe in every legacy box or every little tub that you're storing for the grands. It's fun to see the handwriting of grandparents, especially like when I was a child. I didn't notice anything about my great-grandmother's or my great-grandfather's handwriting, and the grandfathers and grandmothers, I didn't notice their handwriting as a child. But now it's kind of cool to look back and just see those and think about, the days and the places where they were writing those notes and those recipes out. The sounds and smells of the kitchens over family meals and grandmothers writing out recipes, those things are all triggered by seeing something like a handwritten recipe. So don't throw them away. Save them, copy them, pass them down, and let your grandchildren enjoy that family history. I would like you to share with us any tips that you have for creating memory boxes. Sometime down the road here this summer, we'll talk about how to fancy it up a little bit once you're ready to present those items to a grandchild, whether it be now or later, or perhaps at a special date, a marriage, a birth of a child, the purchase of a first home. Those are times, landmark times in their lives where you'll want to make presentations, and we'll come up with some great ideas for how to make those things special. Take care and be grand.